Hello, and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And as always, I have a fantastic guest with me today. His name is David C. Olcott, and he is the president of, I love this name, Samurai Success Inc. He is a seasoned executive coach, an NLP master, martial artist, and best selling author renowned for helping people and businesses be successful and fulfill their destiny. He is the author of the Amazon best-selling book titled Swords of Illumination, which helps readers get back the feeling of a sense of destiny so they can take charge of it and begin living the life they were meant to live. David is also an accomplished motorcycle racer and holds a second degree black belt in Aikido. David, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Cheryl, as a matter of fact, I've never been more excited to see the background of the podcast version like yours. I mean, it's just so beautiful. And I'm just, before the show in the green room, of course, we were talking about your martial arts experience and just, it's so nice. It's such a small, incestuous community that, it just keeps building. There's so many people involved in the martial arts that you don't know about. And just to kind of get that connection with somebody. So very nice to meet you.
Well, thank you. And it's very nice to meet you as well. Your bio just really leapt out and caught my attention. But then when I saw the martial arts, it's like, oh yeah, I got to talk to this guy. Because I mean,
Perfect.
it's a special kind of community or bond or whatever between people who study martial arts, and it's very hard to explain.
Agreed.
hmm So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came up with this samurai success. Again, love that title. That just, to me, it says it all because, the art of the samurai and, the grounding and the power, the spirit of the warrior, but it has a soft side to it as well.
Yeah, wow. There's so much to talk about in that place. But when I was much younger, and I really mean this, I was like 9 or 10 years old. And I remember this because the new pastor had just come into our church, and
hmm
his name was John Smith. And this man spoke like I'd never heard a human being speak before. Like he was talking about this religion and dogma that I was used to in Bible school and all this other Sunday school. And I was listening to the things and the prayers and the singing, the songs and stuff like this. But then he started talking about Jesus in a different way and the church in a different way and connections to people. And it just, 9 years old, I don't know why, it just hit me very differently. And he was with the church for about 5 or 6 years. So that was into my teen years, which I was very thankful for. But sitting down with one of his things, he said to the group of people, I'll never forget this. He says, if you really want to live a life of fulfillment, a true life with purpose and fulfillment, you must learn how to be in service of others.
Mm-hmm.
And I get goosebumps right now, Cheryl, thinking about that moment and how at 9 years old, why would that hit me so hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
10, 12, whatever age I really was when he said it. But that carried with me for all this period of time. And then I got involved in sales and the corporate America and all these other things and real estate. And we'll go into some of that if we like. But I read a book called Samurai Selling. And in that book, it referenced the word samurai as loosely translated in being in service of others. There
Oh,
was the birth of samurai success. So, samurai in service of others success
mhm.
is what our company is really based on.
That's so amazing. And I'm just sitting here thinking of that young boy, 9-year-old, because when you think of a 9-year-old boy, sitting there, especially, in church or whatever, or listening to a sermon or a lecture or whatever, you don't think of the way that your brain, the pathway, went in that discussion is just, to me, it's absolutely fascinating because I think a lot of little boys that age would be thinking about, I want to go outside, I want to play ball, I want to do this. But the way that that really impacted you, and have you ever thought about that or like meditated on it? And it's like, what was it inside of you that just, touched you in that way that you ended up pursuing this amazing career?
Well, it's then we're going to go right down the rabbit hole, Sharon. I'm just going to trust you in the audience with this, but I
You
don't know
got it.
why I have this feeling, and you may have this sense of feeling, as I write about it in the book. I have had this feeling I've been here before. I don't know
Mm,
why I have this feeling, um, but there is just too many deja vu moments for me in this lifetime. Just, oh my gosh, I've seen this before. I've felt this before. I've experienced this before. And that just really resonates with me.
Mhm.
Whether it's a fact or not, I'm not really concerned about. What I'm having is an experience of it. And as a matter of fact, one of the reasons why I wrote the book was totally selfish because of the 30 plus years that I've been studying this thing about being in service and how this place works, and the three dimensions that I'm really fascinated by people, by the physical plane and the Newtonian rules that go along with it, and then the spiritual realm and the quantum mechanics that go along with that. Those three dimensions I'm fascinated with. And
Mhm.
so, how do those things work individually? And then how do they connect? And that has been my life's pursuit in service of that idea about understanding how we work and how we influence those other two things. Because
Mhm.
those three things and us influencing that is what I believe creates our destiny. And
Mhm.
destiny is a pretty big word to throw around, but I want to be clear with you, Cheryl, right now. And that is destiny is a place you end up, and you are going to end up somewhere, but it may not be the where you wanted to end up at.
Mhm.
Having a destiny is always thought about a process. No, this is a purpose thing. You're supposed to, you're on this odyssey and it's in a treasure box and you're supposed to open it up and there's your destiny. But you have to find your identity first. So we have to go around and find ourselves and do this. And the mind blowing concept that came from that early age and later on and how this has evolved is that the special and most profound lesson I've learned in my lifetime is that you're not here to discover who you are. You are here to create who you are.
Mhm.
And with that knowledge in the last 35 plus years, I've created a life that I've always wanted to live.
Mhm. Now, when did the martial art aspect of it come into this journey? And how did that happen?
So I was in college and had just, again, just finished doing a bunch of stuff. I just got involved in politics and some other things, got involved in corporate America and the law. And I was just fascinated by something more cardiovascular kind of stuff. And a friend of
Mhm.
mine I was actually thinking about getting in the FBI and the DEA. And a friend of mine who actually got involved with the DEA was then saying, "Hey, I'm going to go check out this thing called Aikido." And he said something, and the word samurai came, and I was like, "What?" And the whole, it just stopped the conversation. It was like, that Jerry, Maguire moment. You had me at hello, you had me at samurai, right? Kind of thing. And I was like, what do you mean samurai? And what's this Aikido thing about? So in 1992, I remember walking into my very first dojo, and studying there and just, have fell in love with that. As a matter of fact, I fell in love with it for about 20 years, got out of it for 20 years, and now back in it for the last four.
Wow.
And so in 2001 was my last promotion to second, degree black belt. And I've been training now, so I took that period of time off. And then I got back involved because I went motorcycle racing, long range precision shooting. I did all these crazy things over that 20-year period and built an empire of a business. So then I was like, okay, now I'm ready to really focus back on my martial arts.
Okay, I want to hear a little bit more about that because I'm thinking, okay, I took a 3 year long hiatus back in, I think it was 2017, where it was like, I just need to step back here for a while because Sensei was driving me crazy and a couple of other things as well. So, it's like, all right, I'm getting this very clear signal. It's time to take a break. And, I had no idea if it was going to be for a few months, for a year. I had no idea. And it was a 3 year long hiatus. And then, one day I was driving down, Wash Park area is where the martial arts studio was. And I had been at a meeting and I thought, maybe I ought to just stop by the dojo and say hello, looking, yeah, it's noon class, it's on the way home. And I did. And my goodness, they just roped me back in. It was, but after, and I was like, gosh, I know it's been 3 years. And, do I remember anything? And it was like, oh, yeah, it was just like I had been gone for 3 weeks and everything just came flying back, and it was just great.
Great job. Great job.
So it can be done. You can take a break and get back in.
Absolutely.
But 20 years is a long time.
Matter of fact, almost 20 years to the very day and month was weird. That I walked back in there, and that was just right in before COVID started. And then, of course, then it shut down, for a while, and then it came back up. So, yeah, there's been some hits and misses in there, but man, just something keeps drawing me back to this art. And then evolving from Aikido into TSYR, which is the art of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, of drawing the sword and actually learning how to train like a samurai, right?
Right.
our dojo, is the world-class Hombu dojo for the world, is in Evergreen, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been fortunate enough to know all the different martial arts disciplines in Colorado is huge. One of the reasons I moved here is
Really
because
big.
of just the world-class teachers and senseis and
Mm-hmm.
everybody that's here in this martial arts community. So it's pretty big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we have a huge martial arts community here in just in the small town that I'm at.
Really?
It's none of the arts that I want to study. I mean, there's BJJ, like, I could
Right.
walk to the BJJ dojo, but that's not me. I don't know, no BJJ, no Taekwondo, karate. No, no, none of that really appeals to me. There is an Aikido studio, um, but it's an hour away.
Mm.
So I'm trying to gear myself up. We've only been out here for 6 months. So, as I'm establishing myself and figuring out where the heck everything is in the community, maybe in a few more months I might be okay with driving that far, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I mean, I miss it. It's like part of my soul is just, crying for some jujitsu or some ninjutsu, and I have space here in my basement and I can roll around and do all my rolls and break falls, but it's just not quite the same.
Exactly. Well, you might get a hankering just, because I think you got permission from your sensei before his transition that, at least opening up your own dojo,
Hmm.
maybe being the teacher yourself and then starting to add, I know it's scary, but wow, because there's probably probably a community that would really be interested in that art that you
Yeah.
teach. So good for you.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. I've actually had a couple of women in ballet class ask me if I would teach. And it's like, well, let
The
me think
universe
about
is
it.
funny that way.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's a little scary. Okay, let's talk more about you then. And tell me a little bit more about the NLP. How did you get into NLP?
So I was first introduced to NLP when I used to work with Tony Robbins. So I worked with him for a
Hmm.
number of years. I was a field sales representative, and NLP was just part of the program. That was just part of this. Now it wasn't really announced about it. I had to go off on my own and become master certified in it, which is fortunate for us because NLP Comprehensive, which is the mecca of NLP in the world, is in Boulder, Colorado. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, again, this Colorado connection kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
I forget in 89, 94, something around there is where I got master certified. And it really is just, I love the way that NLP helps me understand the structure of the human experience to really
Hmm.
kind of break things down because so much of that is integrated into my articulations of things and helping people understand things. Because once you start to understand something, you can either let go of it, be less confused by it, and then finally move into it. It's like, oh, okay, I
Hmm.
got this. Now let's do it. Because that if until you get that why question, the what purpose and all this other stuff is, I'm not connecting the dots. It's very difficult to kind of fully immerse yourself in something. So getting that level of understanding is what NLP really has helped me with our clients.
Hmm. So, what is the similarity or the difference between, NLP and neuroplasticity? Or is that what NLP is actually working in changing the neural pathways?
There you go. As a matter of fact, neuroplasticity is a concept within the theory within the brain that we used to think that if you destroyed a brain cell that it would never reproduce. We now know that's not accurate, right? As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, it's not even true is really a better statement. That
Hmm.
neuroplasticity allows us to rebuild those things even after large amounts of trauma or damage.
Hmm.
And so we're just fascinated by that neuroplasticity ability to grow, change, learn. NLP is technology, if you will, that allows you to change that programming. And
Hmm.
that's what the power is. And so much of our work is based upon that. And then we've evolved it even further in something we call the IM Studio, which is one of the key ways to change your subconscious programming
Hmm.
with your voice, with your permission, with your soul connection, if you will, and really build all your verbiage, not using anybody else's verbiage, not talking to anybody else's, thoughts, processes, programming. This is about discovering the master inside of you, listening to that master, trusting that master, writing that master's words down, and then programming that into your subconscious brain. Because the number one thing we do as human beings is we all forget. And when we
Hmm.
forget who we are, Cheryl, you know this, we forget who we are. We act differently than that identity is created for us. So
Hmm.
being in line with our behaviors and our identity is so critical to that destiny and that life of fulfillment.
Then you are really your authentic self. I know
I
that's
mean,
used a lot,
there
but
is the classic word because when is your authentic self just your ego? When is your authentic
hmm.
self just your soul? When is your authentic self both of those things?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you say authentic, it's really tough to go, well, that's just who I am. Listen, you are so powerful. You are divinity itself. There is nothing you cannot do. It's just, are you willing to do it? Can you do
Mm-hmm.
it? Will you do it? Right? Oh, everybody I meet, oh, I've always wanted to study martial arts. Well, come on down to the dojo. Never see them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've always wanted to. What's keeping us from doing the things we know we should be doing, the things we love in our life? And that discovery came not only from understanding NLP, but also 30 years of experience of Samurai Success. We
Mm-hmm.
now have this understanding that it's your programming that keeps you doing things and
Mm-hmm.
keeps you from doing things. And if you know what the beginning of the conveyor belt is, then you can change that and you can change results, and results create your destiny. So you can ultimately change your destiny.
I just want to pivot. I want to say something because you're going to find this absolutely either fascinating or ridiculous. But I went back to school, had my second career in physical therapy. So I got my master's degree in PT at back then it was University of Colorado Health Sciences Center. Now it's what I can't remember what the medical complex. But anyway, in all of our neurology classes, we were taught that neuroplasticity, this what I call miracle of nature, disappears at the age of 14. And I'm sitting there scratching my head going, I mean, I'm just a stupid student, but I don't think that's right because I was a respiratory
Good for
therapist
you.
before I went to PT school and
Right.
I worked in a neurotrauma unit. And it's like we've had these head injuries, spinal cord injuries, and a lot of them, recovered. And so it made no sense. But we were taught that we had to teach patients how to compensate because they were
Mhm.
never. And fortunately, now that we know a lot more than we did back then, because I was still like, that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And I'm going to go with fascinating then with that thing because it's one of those things that we've been told a lot of information that is inaccurate about how we really work. And I
Mm-hmm.
know, like me, I was like, okay, I can't go to the so-called experts anymore to go find out how this place really works. I've got to go experience it. And I think this is the way this place was designed, right? To not keep listening to everybody else about how it really works and discover on your own. And that's probably one of the critical elements that we really share with our clients is like, listen, you can have all the knowledge in your world. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
applying that knowledge, you're not
Mm-hmm.
getting the experience you say you're after. And in the
Mm-hmm.
experience, Cheryl, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
martial artist, in the experience is where all the secrets are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're just listening to a YouTube channel or a podcast or anything else, and you're just listening to other talking heads and you're not applying what you're learning in there, you're not going to go any further.
Mm-hmm.
The belief that supports that is that knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
This is inaccurate. Knowledge applied is power.
Mm-hmm.
That power in the right time is wisdom. So when you actually apply that information at the right time, that wisdom only comes from levels of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yet so many of us are afraid these days to go into those experiences because we feel afraid of what we don't know. We're afraid of the vulnerableness of that. We're afraid we're going to get sued over something. Afraid we're going to be held accountable to something. We're afraid we're going to be judged or shamed or guilted. And we've got to find ways past that if we're
Mm-hmm.
really going to evolve our society.
I think also you're really kind of addressing critical thinking skills, and that is something that has almost, I don't want to say been beaten out of us, but almost, yeah, we've been conditioned to not trust ourselves, not to think something through. Listen to the experts because they know so much more than we do. And as we've been discovering over the years, that no, that's not necessarily accurate.
Well said. As a matter of fact, that's some of the big work we do here at Samurai Success because I know that there's times I've listened to me, thinking it was me, my authentic seed, but it was just my ego. And I went, whoa, that's not where I wanted to go. But you were listening to yourself, David. Well, there's this other facet of you that we haven't really explored. And that's what we really share with Samurai Success, especially the Swords of Illumination is designed for this. We call it the SOFI program, Swords of Illumination. And
Mm-hmm.
so the SOFI program is a year-long program that's really designed for you to start creating who you are. Because once you have that identity is what shapes every experience in your life. So if you're having a really good life, then you have a really good core identity. If you're having a really tough life, it's because you don't know what that core identity is, and you're constantly listening to everybody else deciding who you are. You're
Mm-hmm.
actually living someone else's life, and that feels really interesting to the body. It's like, no, this isn't right, and it creates suffering. And that
Mm-hmm.
suffering is an indicator that, hey, you're not living the life you want to live. Would you
Mm-hmm.
like to create that? Well, that's what the Sophie program is designed to do, is help you actually go through that process, reconnect with your soul, as opposed to just listening to your ego, and kind
Mm-hmm.
of combine those things into a new authenticity that really creates new behaviors, new results, and changes your destiny.
I absolutely love the title of that book.
Hmm.
Absolutely love it. Swords of Illumination. I mean, that to me says it all. And now, when did you decide that it was time to write a book? I mean, did you just wake up in the middle of the night? That's usually what happens to me. And, with this great idea, you're going to write a book. So, how did that come about?
So going back to your original question a couple of minutes ago, which like, okay, so I wrote that book totally selfishly. I have a sense that I've been here before for some reason. We talked a little about that. And I had this fear. Somehow I got this fear that I'd worked all this time and this information was so powerful. I didn't want to forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I had to leave this place and then come back, I wanted it here when I got
Mm-hmm.
back. And I know and by the way, it's totally selfish on my part. What's happening though is that people are picking up the book. We just exceeded 10,000 copies sold. It's incredible,
Wow.
opportunity. So I'm very excited about that. And the next part is that people are calling us from 22 different countries, giving us feedback, all this reviews and stuff like this, overwhelmingly positive. And people are going, "Have you thought about this?" And this is where it gets fun, right? They're evolving it on its own. And I'm like,
Nice.
what's going to happen when I get back here before someone's inhaled that book and now maybe is coaching me when I'm really young to be able to really get to the next level? Because
Mm-hmm.
I got this information when I was really young, and that's one of the key things that I said to the universe very clearly in my prayers. I said, if you help me understand this place, I will share it with the world.
Wow.
That is why that book is so important for me to get out
Mm-hmm.
there, and why we're getting such a great response for it, because people are really realizing you're not really here to change the world. You're really here to change your experience of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And programming is the key to that.
Mm-hmm. I love the way that you said that you wrote the book selfishly, because
Yes,
you are the second person this week who actually said that about writing their book, that it was a selfish reason. But it's like, I don't think giving a gift like that to the world and that kind of information and writing a book is really not selfish.
ma'am. Fair enough.
Yeah. I always say, yeah, writing a book is not for the faint of heart.
Yes, ma'am.
Having said that, is there another one on the way?
There actually is. As a matter of fact, Swords of Elimination, book one, was always
Mm-hmm.
designed to be able to be a three-part series. So we've taken this idea as like book one, and then book two, and then there was going to be a workbook. We've taken the workbook out and we've created a workshop. It's called the Sophie program. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
48-week program that goes along with that. Book one is out right now. We actually finished it, Cheryl, in 2009. We didn't publish it until 2023, August 15th, 2023. It was like, why the span? And it's a really interesting thing because now that I had this information, I wanted to go make sure that it worked. And
Mm-hmm.
so between 2009 and 2023, I was living this technology in so many different worlds, like long range precision shooting. I got back
Mm-hmm.
involved in martial arts after 20 years. I had to change my program to be able to do that. Ice skating. I've never ice skated and then played hockey in my entire life, Cheryl. I'm 40 years old, just so you know, when I'm 59 today. I'm 40
Oh,
years
happy
old.
birthday.
Oh, well, thank you. And so at 40, though, you're learning something new, like ice skating, Dave, and playing hockey. These kids have been playing since they're 4 years old. They're gonna kill you. And they almost did. But I was
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I've got to learn this. And so I took that technology and learned how to be able to apply that technology so that I could actually learn how to skate, then play hockey. And interestingly enough, in 18 months, we were the summer champions. I was on the league school. Our
Mm-hmm.
team won the summer championship, and I was the assist leader. That's going from never playing or ever ice skating before in my life to that period of time. It just shows you what the human brain can do when it has the technology to support it. And that's what Swords Illumination is all about. And that's why I'm so excited about it, because of all the crazy things I've done. And every couple of years, I do something really crazy, totally something I've never done before.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm a coach and I'm asking you as a client to step into the learning curve, learn something new, I better be doing that myself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You got to walk the talk, so to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't believe you did the ice skating thing. That's pretty gutsy. So what about the motorcycle racing? Was that part of that journey of doing the hockey and then the motorcycle, and what was it, the long range shooting?
Long range precision shooting. Yeah. Sniper
Yeah.
school. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
so I got on a motorcycle. I'd never been on this, very fast motorcycle before in my life. So I go down to the store, I jump on this GSXR 1000, which is like the highest performance, thing at the time. This is like 2002. And I get on the bike. It scares me so badly, Charlotte. It's so fast. I literally get off the bike and I walk it back to the dealership. And I then buy its little brother, the 750 class, right? Just a couple cc's smaller. And I was like, this is not going to scare. If anything scares me, I usually attack it. I was like, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, I shouldn't be afraid of this. What's happening here? And so that puts me in that learning curve. And so I got on that motorcycle. And then it's funny because I ran into a whole bunch of guys and gals that were actually stunt riding, like, getting up and riding wheelies and standing up on their bikes and jumping up on their tanks and shifting gears. And I did that for a couple of years. And we actually videotaped it and made some videotapes and all these crazy things. And I was out at the tail of the dragon in Tennessee with a friend of mine, and I could do all these crazy tricks, but I couldn't turn that bike to save my life. And an interesting thing happened. He was in front of me. I was behind him. We were going around a curve, one of the most curvaceous, road structures in all of North America, called the Tail of the Dragon. And I guess the gentleman who was driving caught my friend as he was going around this beautiful curve. He was almost dragging his knee, and it caught him, distracted him, and he came across the line as I was coming into the curve, and he almost ran into me. I stepped the bike up and almost went over the edge. The bike stopped on this garter, metal garter that just
Uh-huh.
held the bike up, and it was 500 feet down.
Oh.
And it stopped there. I rolled down the tree line and I got stopped by a tree. But all that happened, and I realized, oh my gosh, I can do all the sun riding, but I can't turn this bike. So I immediately got back, fixed the bike, of course, got back to Colorado, and I went to find a motorcycle racing expert. I said, I cannot do this again. I'm not getting on the street until you teach me how to do this. And then I raced for 3 years. So it was just like
Wow.
one of those cool things. And again, use this technology before going into that to keep me safe. I had two major accidents that weren't my fault. One was mechanical, and the other person ran into me. Of all the years of racing, that's pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But multiple, podiums, multiple wins. I'd never raced a motorcycle in my life, and here I'm winning things. So what you can do as a human being is just absolutely unstoppable, no matter what your age. If I could go even further, I started powerlifting when I was younger, but I really started getting much stronger when I was 50. I
Mm-hmm.
benched my best. I squatted my best. I did my best things when I was 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, you're not supposed to get stronger as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell my brain that. I want it to get stronger. I've programmed it to get stronger. And now I'm really at the best shape of my life. And I was in really great shape in my 20s. I'm going to 10% body fat from
Mm-hmm.
23% body fat to 10% this year. And I've already
Wow.
dedicated myself to being. So that's my new crazy goal, to be able to do
Mm-hmm.
things. But this whole
Oh, that's
idea, yeah.
that's not crazy. I think that's to me that makes perfect sense.
Right.
Why stop? And I think that's as we mature, I don't like to say get older, whatever, but as we mature, I think that society tries to tell us that we can't do things. You're going to have to slow down. Your spine is going to start shrinking, your posture is going to get all round, you're going to lose all your, core muscles, blah 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 blah. Just go sit down and do some light weights in the chair aerobics, that type of thing. And it's like, oh, where's the sport in that?
Oh, I like
Right?
your attitude.
Well, I started when I turned 58 for my 58th birthday. I decided that it was time to start engaging in some age appropriate activities. So I started pole dancing.
Love it. I
Yep.
love it.
Yep. So it's like 10 years
There
later,
you go.
I competed twice, I performed a couple of times, and I did find a really adorable little pole studio that's only about 20 minutes away from my house here in Excelsior. So
Oh,
yay, I'm still
so
pole dancing. That's fun, let me tell you.
See, that's what keeps us young, though, that healthy, positive attitude that I can do anything. And yes,
Hmm.
I definitely noticed that I can't go to the soccer, thing anymore. I can't just jump out and run. I got to stretch a little bit longer now that I've
Right,
gotten older, but I prepare those things. But I don't want that belief system that society wants to give me because I get to choose whether I accept that or not. And that's the real
right,
big message of today is that everything you have learned about what you're going to do in this life has been programmed into your brain by the time you're 7 years old.
Right.
Neuroplasticity, right? It's theta-based frequency stuff. 7 years old, most of the things we're doing in all those 10 categories of bonds, financial, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, any of those categories, your brain has already been programmed about how it's going to react and respond to every single one of those things. The
Mm-hmm.
good news is that that program thing is reprogrammable and you can
Mm-hmm.
shift that. So if you've been really struggling in anyone or all of those 10 categories, that doesn't have to be your fate, does not have to be your destiny. There is a solution.
I just love the fact that you started that journey at the age of 9 with that pastor. I mean, imagine if you never had the opportunity to meet him and to have heard that speech or that lecture or that information. I mean, where would you be right now? What would you be doing?
That's, I love that question because people ask me all the time, if there's anything you could regret in your life, and I know this is going to sound really arrogant, but I would never dare regret anything that the universe has provided for me because everything the universe has provided for me has gotten me to where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I love where I am. I
Mm-hmm.
truly love tomorrow. And I know that more of us are capable of this. I know most of us aren't feeling this way. I know most
Mm-hmm.
of us aren't experiencing this. I want to let you know that this stuff isn't just marketing. It isn't just foo-foo woo-woo stuff. This is real stuff. It does take work.
Mm-hmm.
There is a solution to really getting back on track and living that life. Because whether you believe you get to come back and reincarnate, or if it's just, you only live once, whatever your belief system is, why not play your best while you're here? And if you're interested
Mm-hmm.
in that, like you are playing at, which I love about you, is that, hey, pole dancing, I'm going to be this age, and I doesn't, and every, can I share a quick story with you?
Sure, absolutely. That's what we're here for.
I'm hockey playing. I'm starting my hockey, career, if you will. I'm 40 years old. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
And I signed up for this class. The Red Wings is the big famous, against the Avalanche. The Red Wings are the big
Mhm.
famous, clash, like, oh, you gotta hate those guys. And well, one of their professional skate performance people was a ballerina and also a figure skater, and her name is Laura Strom, I think, is if I'm recalling her name. This is quite a few years ago, but she has a class to be able to teach hockey players how to figure skate. And the figure skating you see with some of the high end hockey players is her teachings about how
Nice.
to use that figure skate in a hockey situation and the
Mm-hmm.
finesse that you see some of these world class people with. Also they're like going this fast, and all of a sudden they go up on these edge and they're like, boom, like how did you figure skating? They
Mm-hmm.
incorporated this. So she was teaching. So I go down to the Olympic Center in Colorado Springs, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I go down there. I'm so excited. I'm going to learn from this world class teacher again about how to skate properly. And I'm like, this is where I got to go. So I get into the class, and Cheryl, I'm 5'9" with heels on, just so you know. And I am the tallest person in the class. Now I'm looking
Wow.
around and I look at this young boy who's sitting down there and he's looking up at me like this and he's just staring at me. He's just staring at me. And he finally says, "How old are you? What grade are you in?" Right? And so I didn't realize that I was not only the tallest person in the room, I was the oldest person in the room, including the instructor, who wasn't Laura at the time. But I was the oldest person in the room because I'm 40 years old. Everybody else is 12 and under. The entire
That's
class are
so
kids.
funny.
So for 3 days, now I'm getting off the ice at the end of the first day, and we're doing all kinds of things. Starfish, we're laying out on the ice, kind of stuff, and doing all the kinds of crazy things that a 12-year-old body would handle, not a 40-year-old body.
Mhm.
So I get off the ice. I'm like, struggling a little bit. And several of the parents came over and were like, that is the smartest thing I've ever seen. I wish I had thought about that. And I was like, what? And they're like, which is your kid? You're out here skating with your kid. And I'm like, just when you thought you were going to get a nice compliment, you just get smacked. And I didn't have the heart to be able to say, actually, I'm actually here skating kind of stuff. I was like, oh, yeah, there's around here somewhere.
Oh my
For three
gosh, that's
days, everybody
hilarious.
thought, I was there skating with my kids. And
Oh,
nope, I was there skating for me to be able to learn how to ice skate for the first time.
wow. Well, hats off to you. That's, I mean, it takes a certain amount of courage and confidence to be able to walk into a situation like that. Of course, you didn't know ahead of time, but
Right.
you stayed, you didn't
Right.
leave. A lot of people might have left, but I struggled with that even when I moved here, because even going to ballet class,
Mm.
and it was like, oh my gosh, should I call them ahead of time and let them know how old I am? I have been kind of age, discriminated against before and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, stop it. Just walk in there like you own the place.
There
And,
you go.
it turned out just fine. And I discovered that actually they have ballet classes specifically even for people like who are 60 and older. And it's like, yes, yeah, you can do this. It's just
Absolutely.
awesome. But nobody at the pole studio knows yet how old I really am. So I haven't told them. I haven't decided to
Good for
share that
you.
information quite yet. They'll find out eventually.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to use their youth against them. Why
Yeah, and
just
I know
you're
that's
just better than that.
discriminatory. I know. It's like all these years of wisdom. I don't want to shame it or embarrass them. Yeah, I know so much more than they do. That's too funny. Okay, so tell us a little bit more. I mean, I know the listeners are dying to hear how you work with people. I mean, do you work with people one on one? Do you coach them? What's your program like? And just a little bit more about that, some more details.
So two major programs within our company's atmosphere, if you will, right now, and Empire is that one is called the Sophie program, which is
Mm-hmm.
built on the swords illumination concept about how to really understand how you can really reprogram your life for the success and destiny you're after. That goes from an individual basis all the way up to groups of 12 people. And we're just starting our program in the UK. Two programs actually
Wow.
starting up in the month of May. To be able to actually have group coaching. So that really brings down the investment cost of the individual and then
Mm-hmm.
the time commitment, things like this. And then you have a collaborative effort that we've really found some amazing success in. Sometimes people don't want to go into that collaborative effort because there's a lot of intimate things we have to talk about and really stuff that we need to heal to be able
Mm-hmm.
to move. So they want to start going in the smaller groups. So we have ones, fours, and up to 12 people within the Sophie program.
Mm-hmm.
The business coaching side is very different. When you hire Samurai Success, you don't hire one coach, you actually hire three coaches. It's all part of our package deal. So we're really, our niche marketplace is someone who is a business owner who really wants to be, sorry, a self-employed business person who thinks they're a business owner, who really wants to become a business owner. And a truly business owner means you can leave up your business up to 3 months at a time without it affecting quality control or profitability.
Mm-hmm.
If you can walk away from your business and not have it affect that, then you would be what we call a representative of a true business owner. If you
Mm-hmm.
can't do that, then you're just in self-employed, and nothing wrong with that. My
Mm-hmm.
past boss, Tony Robbins, is self-employed, basically. I know he owns all these businesses and stuff like this, but if he's not doing the work, it's not going to get paid because Tony Robbins is Tony Robbins. There's no other person like him on the planet, right? So, but our business owner, our people that want to work with us really want to build an empire and they want to build the structure and the team to be able to really reach their vision. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
what we really help them do with those three different coaches. One's a psychology or mindset coach. The other one is a design coach that focuses on all your business modeling and the structure that supports that. Because remember, design work is so important that if you don't have a process in place, any task or project you give to somebody else is going to
Mm-hmm.
be affecting quality control and profitability because they're not doing it the same way, the same recipe. So we
Right.
recipe everything in your business, every task, every project, so that when someone else does that project, they do it as well as you do with the same quality control and profitability without you actually doing the work. That
Mm-hmm.
truly allows you to be a business owner. And then the
Mm-hmm.
third aspect of that is the financials that ties it all together, that says, hey, when you're programming or the way you're doing things, the way your mindset is doing the work in this way, process, you get this result. When you change your mindset and you do it this way, it changes the result to this. Which result do you like? And we just show you financially as opposed to 30 years of experience. Let me just tell you how to do it. We
Mm-hmm.
help you have your own personal verified experience. Which one works better for you?
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, okay, David, how can the listeners get a hold of you? How can they connect with you? Where can they find you? Any anything else you want to share with the listeners before we wrap up?
Probably the best hub way to be able to get to us is samuraisuccess.com. That's really the best way to be able to get to us. You can go to our YouTube channel, you can go to our Instagram, you can go to our Facebook pages, those kind of things, and connect with us from either David C. Olcott or Samurai Success. Either one of those has those social media. We just started that about 3 years ago. But on that YouTube channel connection within that portal, if you will, that we just talked about, there's over 250 videos of some of the concepts we teach. So if
Wow.
you really are interested in what we do, there's a full plethora of absolute free value for you guys to be able to check out what we do and see if this really resonates with you.
Mhm. Excellent. So before we sign off, I just have to ask you, do you have one more or maybe two more little tiny pearls of wisdom that you want to share with the listeners so they can mull it over, and think about it for a couple of days and before they take some of those first steps?
Wonderful. So let's talk about the two, I think, major concepts we talked about today. And that is
Mhm.
knowledge without application is just your ego telling you that you know something more than anybody else, and it really isn't going to serve you. If you really want to understand how knowledge really works, then you've got to apply the knowledge you already know. When you do that, in that experience of actually applying that information, are the secrets you're looking for.
Mm.
Second part, you are not here to discover who you are. It's not hidden under some rock. No one's going to tell you this. This is an opportunity given to you by the universe, by God, whatever term you want to give it. This is the holy gift of all grails, of all happiness, of all gifts, of everything that you could possibly think of, is your ability to create yourself. You're
Mhm.
not here to find out who you are. You're here to create who you are. And when you have that kind of mindset, the world opens up and the experiences open up in a brand new way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, David. I have loved our conversation, and it's really an honor to meet you.
Very much the same with you, Cheryl. Thanks so much.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Please do share this episode with everyone you know. There are so many pearls of wisdom that are just, woven through this entire episode and a lot to think about. And just remember that there is a samurai in each and every one of us, just waiting to be discovered and unleashed. And that is the way of the FemiNinja.